Yet again, yet again, yet again. I'm glad to have you here, man, because it means that you are interested in the bigger picture. You have some type of intrigue or fascination in higher knowledge, because in reality, knowledge is power, and we can see this everywhere. People that understand these concepts are very powerful, are very wealthy, have a lot of influence, keep a lot of their wealth in the family and have passed it on through generation to generation to sustain this wealth. So, what I'm providing today, you recognize is very empowering and very beneficial to whatever it is you're doing. So, with that being said, the Matrix and the reality, we kind of, or we didn't kind of go over it, we did go over it the other day. And I wanted to remind people and clarify some important points about this concept, this system, and also after I recorded the first video, I realized that I was actually missing a point. I was missing a principle in this system that I want to go over because it's very, very important. Okay, so firstly, so what I wanted to reiterate to everybody is that the matrix and the reality are two sides to the same coin in this world that we live in. Okay? Any type of reality that is socialized and modernized, such as the one we live in the United States of America, has this matrix dynamic. Okay? As I said before, it's what we were born into, but it's not really where we're from. See, it's important for everybody to embrace both sides if they intend to succeed in the matrix, right? Because the truth is that the matrix convinces everybody that they do not need these things. Okay, these things are secondary. When in all actuality, this is the foundation of our existence, right? When we were born into this earth, these things are what matter. And if you're in the matrix, right, you have to abide by these principles, or else you're not going to succeed, right? But you have to have a balance between the two in order to sustain yourself, or else, well, you see the consequence of being out of balance between both sides of the spectrum. You see, everybody is focused on this side of the spectrum, the image, the quantity, expansion, wealth, division, external solutions, that it is completely backfired and it is unsustainable to the point of where this is why civilizations rise and fall again and again and again, because there is no balance. This side is not important to them. It's not as important to them, right? Even though it's the foundation, it's where they came from, right? So if you're going to be in the matrix, right? If you're going to engage in the society, if you're going to live in society, if you're going to, engage in market exchange and, you know, commercial affairs and, build societies, build communities, things of that nature, then you have to have a balance between the two, or else eventually it's all going to come to a crumbling close, right? But the funny thing about this is that if you want to live outside of the matrix, right? If you wanted to be off the grid, for lack of better words, if you wanted to not participate in society in the matrix, right? You don't need any of this shit to survive. You see, this is why this is where we came from. Because in reality, right, these are the things that make us built to last. It's built to last. All of these essentials right here, including the one I will reveal in a moment. It doesn't matter what you look like in reality. It doesn't matter how much shit you have. It doesn't matter how much you expand on the physical level. It doesn't matter how much wealth you have. It doesn't matter, how much you divided people in your mind and how superior you are to everybody else. It doesn't matter about your external solutions, right? The only thing that ever mattered outside of this fake womb that we were born into, right, is all this. This is what matters most. This is why when you're children, right, you find that a lot of this resonates with their personalities, with our personalities as children. But immediately, once we're born into this reality, okay, once we are introduced to this physical realm, we immediately get succumbed and bombarded with the dynamic of this matrix. We get a birth certificate, right? We get a social security card, okay? When you're in the womb, there is no such thing as time. There's no such thing as this division between yourself and others. And even when you're children, you really don't understand how we're separate from each other until you get introduced to the matrix. But this is where we came from. And what I'm saying is this. If you're going to be in the matrix, right? If you want to live in this matrix, then you need to understand that this shit is a requirement. This shit means a lot. This is going to dictate your success if you want to penetrate the matrix and change the paradigm, which is what we're doing, right? But if you want to have the matrix consume you, okay, then you need to just only focus on this side, okay? Because that's what's happening right now, is that so many people from the so-called leaders of the free world and the world at large, and the consumers, just like me and you, the matrix can consume you if you do not have an equal balance between both spectrums. But if you choose to leave the matrix, right, unplug, so to speak, right, we don't really think about it, but there's many parts of the world that are not in the matrix. They are connected to this natural reality, okay, that is the foundation of existence, okay, and they don't need that. So I just wanted to make it clear that, look, it's your choice, but ultimately it's always your choice, and I'm never going to recommend what to do or what not to do, but I'm here to show you, I think, what is the most effective route for people, depending on which route they want to go. So it's important to take this into consideration if you want to make a change in the matrix, if you want to, for lack of better words, rewrite the code of the matrix, reprogram this reality in which we have been introduced to and change it, okay? You have to somewhat get in there first. And this is how you do it. This is how you influence it. This is how you change it, right? But you need to have a balance between the two, all right? Or else reality is going to come back and bite that ass, all right? And that is the truth. So, with that being said, I want to show everybody today a principle, because I've mentioned 6 principles on both sides of the spectrum that are components of the matrix, right? But I missed one. After I made the first video, I realized that I missed probably one of the most significant of them all, okay? Now, the first one that is the primary ingredient, if you will, of the matrix is fear. All right? Okay? The opposite of this, the mirror reflection of this, which is the driving force of our reality is love. And I should say unconditional love, right? Now, we can see this. I don't even know where to start, man. I mean, people are so afraid that they do not even know more than half of the decisions they make are fear-based. Because fear is directly tied into people's emotions. And the media is very good at playing and appealing to people's emotions and fear-based ideas. See, the controversy right now that we're experiencing in the United States of America is a fear of Trump, right? A fear. It's like we don't understand that we are creating what we fear by reacting from this frame of mind. Okay? And from every single point of view possible in the Matrix, you can see that services and products and pretty much anything commercially related in some way, shape, or form is connected to people's fears, right? You have health insurance, you have life insurance, you have car insurance, okay? You have all of these things just in case, okay? We have people that are so petrified of their own potential, right? And are never able to tap into really who they are because they are surrounded by people that are just as afraid, if not more. So love, on the other hand, okay, is something that I feel has been diluted, perverted, and somewhat lost its core purpose, okay? Because love, ooh, scratching the palm, the right palm, man, money coming. True love, in my opinion, is not this conditional love where it's like, I don't know, if you have some type of possession, if you make a certain amount of money, if you are fulfilling some type of requirements in my mind, okay, if you look a certain way, if you act a certain way, you know, whatever, if you do what I say, then I love you, you know. And love these days is pretty much a love for bliss. Everybody is in love with these types of euphoric feelings, right, that we get when we do certain things and when we're around certain people that we claim we love. Especially, it takes us out of the mode of fear. You see, this is what's so important, is that, look, when you're in love with somebody, all of your fears are non-existent, right? When you're making love to somebody, right, there is no thought in your mind like, man, I gotta go to court on Monday, you know. How am I gonna pay these bills? I'm past due. I'm delinquent 60 days, right? That shit does not happen. Most people are in love with, obviously, the climax when they have sex. Obviously, and that is when you are directly connected to love. Directly connected with the driving force that brought us into this world, right? Brought us into reality, right? Was non-stop compassion, unconditional love, right? That's the feeling that we're in love with. We love the climax, but we also love the experience of getting there. but I think you understand what I mean. When you climax and when you either ejaculate or orgasm or whatever you're doing, there is no past or future. It is your focus is overwhelmingly in the moment, right? And you're in love with the moment. You're in love with the feeling, right? You're in love with the pleasure, right? And people can express love in all sorts of ways. They can say, well, I love this shit. I love money, right? I love these items of luxury. I love where I live, right? But really what they're saying is that they love the feeling it produces, right? They love the feeling. Now, in my opinion, these are all, I guess, valuable components of what many would consider love. But I think that we're missing a very important point. And this is why love has become so perverted and diluted and lost its purpose, is because love, right, is pretty much, as I said, unconditional love, which means it is compassion, right? Compassion. Like, the golden rule, right? It always talks about, treat others the way that you would like to be treated. Well, unfortunately, if you don't love yourself, then that's probably not a good idea. But compassion, right, is loving yourself and treating others and treat yourself the way that you would treat somebody that you are truly in love with, that you are just constantly going out on a limb for and looking out for their well-being, calling them, checking in on them, whether it be your mom, right? Whether it be your dad, your uncle, your family. Usually it's these members in your life, right? That's what I believe compassion is that if we were to treat people, right, if we were to treat people from a center of love and compassion, ultimately compassion, that's what love is in my opinion, then everybody would exit and depart from the route of fear, right? Because, and this is why there can only be so much amount of love in the matrix in society and commercial relations. Because if we show too much love in the ideologies and the principles of business, right, and matrices, then we may give up our power, right? Because the desire for power is directly connected to their fears. The desire for power and control is actually the fear of losing it. Okay? Now, with that being said, I just want everybody to remember what I said in the beginning of this video, is that, well, even the whiteboard can't handle this shit. To remember that if you want to engage in this matrix, then by all means, that's what you should do, right? Because you're here for a purpose. If you really, really didn't want to be here, then you don't have to be here. You can unplug, and there are thousands of societies. I wouldn't even call them societies, but thousands of worlds, right, in this reality that are heavily focused, strongly focused on the foundation of survival and the natural harmony of universal laws, okay? And you could leave if you want at any time. No one's stopping you, right? But if you want to engage in this matrix, man, don't think that, don't think that people are going to embrace you or take you seriously, or you're going to have any significant impact on changing it dramatically, unless you apply the principles that dictate the matrix, right? They're not going to take you seriously. Like, people think, oh, well, they should just accept me for who I am, and blah blah blah. It's not how it works. I'm sorry. And that's not, that is an emotional desire that is unrealistic at this point on the timeline. But again, in order to change the direction of our future and modify the paradigm of this matrix and yourself personally and your involvement with it, you have to have a balance between reality and the matrix, or else you will become consumed and reality will find you.